26th meeting of the Huntingdon Historical Society. I want to welcome everybody. We've got some visitors here today that I want to talk about here shortly. But before I do that, I want to thank Dr. Carter and Melissa Powell for their attendance last month. Dr. Carter played the part of Dr. McCall, and Melissa Powell reenacted her part about the family at Clark Cemetery. And the name escapes me now exactly what family that was. But I hope everybody enjoyed that. I've heard comments from people that have seen some of those on Facebook. So I thought that went very well. We might do more of that in the future in some form or fashion. All right, today we're very excited to announce a collaboration between the Historical Society and Miss Hillary Cliff's marketing class at the vocational school here in Huntingdon, the Carroll County Technical Center. We're very excited about this. As you know, we've been asking for months about help. Most of us are above 60 and our technology skills are not what they should be, but we've managed to get by. But they're going to be filming. They're going to be creating us a YouTube channel. Anything social media related that Miss Hillary and the class thinks that we need to better get our Historical Society storytelling meetings out there. So, and we're also going to, Miss Hillary and the class are going to put on the YouTube channel all the videos that we have filmed up to this point, and maybe some more. And we've also got some other things going on that I'm going to keep quiet for now, but just like a teaser, that may start happening in the future as well. Miss Johnny Beth knows all about that. But a lot of exciting things going on. So at this time, I'm going to ask Miss Hillary Cliff if she'll come up and introduce herself and introduce the class and what they will be doing in collaboration with us.
Thank you, Mr. Johnny McClure. We are very excited about this collaboration. Our class, I teach a couple of classes at the vocational school. We do intro to business, marketing and management, social media, and retail. So this falls right under our realm of what we do. So this is providing our students with the technical skills that they need to work in the marketing industry. And we are very appreciative and very thankful for this opportunity. We're looking forward to getting them online and getting things more visible for our viewers. And we're excited about that. So I just want to introduce my class and kind of give you the names of some of the students that are helping us today. I've got Colt Luther, who is our cameraman, Kanan Moore, we've got Chevy Robinson, Daniel Armour, JC Nellett, Mahogany Thatcher, and Greenlee Hilliard. So I've selected a few students. These are students who have the camera quite often and are good with that. They're part of our core team. So we're very thankful for this opportunity and looking forward to future projects.
Great. Thank you, Miss Hillary. I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity. Obviously, it's selfish of us because we're going to get a great benefit from it, but they're going to get some very great practical experience from doing the things that Miss Hillary tells them every day in class, I'm sure. So we're very happy about that. Just be looking for in the future a YouTube channel, which will be titled Huntingdon TN Historical Society, and some other things. So we're very excited about that. And I know Miss Lisa Tippett and Miss Johnny Beth are thankful for this because they were doing most of the work before that. And so now Miss Lisa said, as she said, now she can kind of enjoy these meetings, not worry about so much about filming. All right, some more things. No meeting next month. It's close to the holidays, close to Christmas, obviously. There's no meeting in December. Right after this meeting, the museum's going to be open for, a couple hours. Everybody knows the museum is right across the street. It's in the lower part of the building. You go around to the side where there's a parking space, and you can tour the museum. So, our storyteller in January, we hit the jackpot with this because when we spoke to Miss Hillary about doing this collaboration, she had to speak to her principal at the vocational center about that. And he in turn called me, and as history buffs, we probably talked for 45 minutes. And the principal of the vocational school is Mr. Joe Norville. Turns out he's a huge, huge history fan, a buff. So he's going to be coming to speak to us in January, and his topic, and he may speak to us more than once over the next coming months, but his topic for January is going to be a World War II soldier killed in action. And just leaving it at that, because he's going to give us all the details, and I'm looking forward to that. He gave me a few tidbits about it, and I'm really looking forward to it. But any other thing, boss ladies, that we need to discuss before we introduce the storyteller today? They're saying no. All right, so I want to introduce you all today. Most of y'all may probably know Mr. Hershel Wilkes. He's a graduate of Huntingdon High School, a former teacher, and retired from the Carroll County Vocational Technical Center. He held the position of alternative school teacher and principal at the Tech Center. He served 2 years on active duty. He told me just now he spent 1 year in Vietnam, and then he spent 34 years in the National Guard. I hope I'm getting all that correct. His topic for today is just going to be on the armed forces. And as we know, we just celebrated as a country Veterans Day, which was a week ago this past Monday. So at this time, I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Hershel Wilkes, and we do appreciate him coming.
Thank you, John. I'm going to speak a little about the structure and the makeup of the armed forces of the United States, and then after I finish that, there will be some little tidbits regarding the armed forces that you may or may not know, and then I'm going to do my tribute to the veterans. United States Armed Forces are the military forces of the United States. U.S. federal law names 6 armed forces, that being the Army, Marine, Navy, Air Force, Space Force, and Coast Guard. Since 1949, all the armed forces, except the Coast Guard, have been permanently part of the United States Department of Defense, with the Space Force existing as a branch of the Air Force until 2019. They form 6 of the 8 uniformed services of the United States, the other 2 being the Reserve and the National Guard. From their inception during the American Revolutionary War, the Army and Navy, and later the other services, have played a decisive role in the country's history. They helped forge a sense of national unity and identity through victories in the early 19th century First and Second Barbary Wars. They played a critical role in the territorial evolution of the United States, including the American Civil War. The National Security Act of 1947 created the Department of Defense, or DOD as it's known, headed by the Secretary of Defense, superior to the service secretaries. It also created both the U.S. Air Force and National Security Council in 1949, and an amendment to the Act merged the cabinet-level departments of the Army, Navy, and Air Force into the DOD. Each of the military service branches is assigned a role, and a domain. The Army conducts land operations. The Navy and the Marine Corps conduct maritime or water operations. The Marine Corps specializing in amphibious and maritime operations, primarily for supporting the Navy. The Air Force, of course, conducts air operations, and the Space Force conducts space operations. The Coast Guard is unique in that it specializes in maritime operations and is also a law enforcement agency. The President of the United States is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and forms military policy with the DoD and the Department of Homeland Security. Both federal executive departments acting as the principal organs by which military policy is carried out. The United States has used military conscription, better known as the draft, but not since 1973. However, the selective service system retains the power to draft or conscript males, requiring the registration of all male citizens and residents of the United States between the ages of 18 and 25. The personnel size of the 6 armed forces together ranks them among the world's largest state armed forces. The United States Armed Forces are widely considered the world's most powerful and most advanced militarily, especially since the end of the Cold War. The military expenditure of the United States was $916 billion in 2023, the highest in the world, accounting for 37% of the world's defense expenditures. The U.S. Armed Forces has significant capabilities in both defense and power projection due to its large budget, resulting in advanced and powerful technologies which enable widespread deployment of forces globally, including around 800 military bases around the world. The U.S. Air Force is the world's largest air force, followed by the Aviation branch. The U.S. Naval Air Forces is the 4th largest air arm in the world and is the largest naval aviation services, while the U.S. Marine Corps Aviation is the world's 7th large air arm, and the U.S. Navy is the world's largest navy by tonnage, meaning ships. The U.S. Coast Guard is the world's 12th maritime force. Presidential command of the U.S. Armed Forces is established in Article 2 in the Constitution, whereby the President is named as the Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states, meaning National Guard, when called into the actual service of the United States, meaning the President can federalize National Guard troops from the state and be their commander. United States Armed Forces are split between 2 cabinet departments, with the Department of Defense serving as the primary cabinet department for military affairs and the Department of Homeland Security responsible for administering the United States Coast Guard. The military chain of command flows from the President of the United States to the Secretary of Defense or Secretary of Homeland Security, ensuring civilian control of the military. When the Department of Defense, the military departments, are civilian-led, they oversee the co-equal military service branches organized within each department. The military departments and services are responsible for organizing, training, and equipping forces with the actual chain of command flowing through the unified combatant commands. The President of the United States, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of Homeland Security, and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff are members of the United States National Security Council, which advises the President on national security, military, and foreign policy matters. The National Security Advisor, the Homeland Security Advisor, and the Deputy National Security Advisor may also be members of the United States Armed Forces. Okay. When all of these forces are united, in times of crisis and peril and so forth, they're all together as a unit. However, when we take them individually, there are intense rivalries between the branches of the services. And I don't know if many of you are aware or not of the little tidbits I'm about to presume, but they're much like high schools and colleges. Army, Navy, and Air Force have college football teams. They compete every year against each other, and the one with the best record against the other two wins what's called the President's Trophy. And like the colleges and high school, they also have colors, nicknames, mascots, and things of that nature. Okay, mascots. The Army mascot is the mule. The Navy mascot is the goat. The Marine mascot is the English bulldog. The Air Force mascot is the falcon. Coast Guard mascot is the bear. And as of this time, the Space Force has not found them one. They're new. Okay? Tell you about their birthdays. Birthdays are all about celebrating the birth of those we love and respect. And that's why we take the time out and invite friends over, plan parties, bake birthday cakes, and sing loudly to the guest of honor. It's no different with the military services. We celebrate each branch and its birthday because we are proud of our military members and what they represent. National Guard is actually the oldest armed services in the United States. Its birthday is December 13th, 1636. The National Guard is a joint activity of the United States Department of Defense, composed of reserve components of the United States Army, the United States Air Force, the Army National Guard of the United States for the Army, and the Air National Guard of the United States for the Air Force. It is the oldest component of the armed forces. Army, June 14th, 1775. Before we were a country, we had an army. The U.S. Army was founded on that date when the Continental Congress authorized enlistment of riflemen to serve the United Colonies for 1 year. The Navy, October 13th, 1775, and the United States Navy traces its origins to the Continental Navy, which the Continental Congress established on 13th of October, 1775. The Marine Corps was founded to serve as an infantry unit aboard naval vessels and was responsible for the security of the ship and its crew by conducting offensive and defensive combat during boarding actions and defending the ship's officers from mutiny. Coast Guard official history began on 4 August 1790 when then President George Washington signed the Tariff Act that authorized the construction of 10 vessels referred to as cutters to enforce federal tariff and trade laws and to prevent smuggling. The Air Force, known as the most recent branch of the U.S. military to be formed, the Air Force is also the largest and most technologically advanced Air Force in the world. Initially part of the United States Army, the U.S. Air Force was formed as a separate branch of the military on 18 September 1947 under the National Security Act of 1947. At that time, it was the newest, but of course then the Space Force came to be on December 20th, 2019. Okay. What about their colors? Each branch of the U.S. military does indeed have its own official colors. The U.S. Army's colors are black and gold. It's almost symbolic as black can represent knowledge and power, something soldiers are taught and must embrace, while gold denotes courage and generosity, two qualities many soldiers demonstrate. The United States Navy identifies with navy blue and gold. The navy blue represents the sea, while gold conveys integrity and optimism in the face of adversity. The United States Air Force uses ultramarine blue and Air Force yellow. Ultramarine blue often symbolizes determination and justice, while the Air Force blue or yellow indicates clarity, energy, and intellect. And the United States Marine identify is associated with scarlet and gold. Scarlet can signify courage, zeal, and boldness, and gold symbolizes nobility, generosity, and elevation of the mind, characteristics that define the Marine Corps ethos. And the United States Coast Guard uses white along with racing stripe blue and red. The presence of the red, white, and blue aligns with the Coast Guard's deeply rooted ties to America. The racing stripe also symbolizes the speed, agility, and quick response time of the Coast Guard's mission. And lastly, the United States Space Force, the newest branch, represents the service colors with dark and light blues, silver, and black. These colors are associated with the vast expanse and mystery of outer space. Each color holds a specific meaning that aligns with the values and mission of each branch, and they are used in flags, uniforms, insignia, and other official representations. Each of them also has a motto. The motto of the U.S. Army is, "This will defend." As the oldest branch of the U.S. military, the U.S. Army's motto is steeped in a long history of service to the country. The phrase, "This will defend," was first used by the War Office of the Continental Army during the American Revolution in 1778. And speaking of the football teams, I believe the Army helmets have that on that. They have in the past, I know. Today, the motto can be found on the official U.S. Army flag, as well as the Department of the Army emblem. On these images, "This will defend" is depicted on a scroll held by a rattlesnake, a symbol used by many colonial Army flags during the American Revolution, signifying the Army's constant readiness over the past 250 plus years to defend and preserve the United States. The United States Marine Corps motto, Semper Fidelis, Latin for always faithful. The United States Semper Fidelis is legendary. However, we always hear it as Semper Fi, as it's yelled, cheered, and used as a greeting. It's not just a motto of the Marines, it's a way of life. The phrase is Latin again for always faithful, and it embodies the Marines Corps' forever commitment to both the fellow Marines and the United States Marine. And since its establishment in 1883, it has become known for the representations of Marines' unshakable loyalty to one another in particular. The bond can be seen not only among those currently serving in the same unit, but also between Marine veterans meeting for the first time years after their service. Semper Fidelis stands for the steadfast dedication Marines will always have to fighting on behalf of this nation, as well as alongside the few, the proud, the Marines. You know, the saying is that once a Marine, always a Marine. There are no former Marines. The U.S. Navy, theirs is undetermined, but they do have a few that they have used. Though they don't have an official motto, there are even disagreements about what the unofficial motto might be. Some sources claim that the unofficial motto is "Non sibi sed parati," Latin for not self, but country, a phrase inscribed above the chapel doors of the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. This unofficial motto invokes the spirit of sacrifice that so many sailors and members of the armed forces carry with them throughout the service. And some incorrectly assume that the title of the unofficial song of the United States Navy, "Anchors Aweigh," is the motto, which it is not. Other sources claim that "Semper Fortis," Latin for always courageous, is the Navy's unofficial motto, considering that the Navy was founded in the 18th century when sailing in the Navy required venturing out into the unknown of the vast oceans, some still uncharted, and this emphasis on courage seemed fitting. And regardless of which unofficial motto is truly the one today, the U.S. Navy continues to stand by all of these unofficial mottos, ideals, and fearlessly serves the United States, both at home and abroad. United States Air Force motto, "Aim high, fly, fight, win." Formally adopted in 2010, the U.S. Air Force's motto is a call to action and a promise in response. The Air Force always pushes itself to new heights, no pun intended, and expects its airmen to do the same. The motto was chosen by the airmen themselves through the Air Force-wide survey, through which they explained to then Air Force Chief General Norton Swartz and other Air Force leaders that they wanted a motto that was inclusive, paying homage to the Air Force culture of diversity, as well as the motto that truly spoke to what it meant to be an airman. Aim high, fly, fight, win does just that, honoring the legacy of the U.S. Air Force, while also giving currently serving airmen something to strive for. Motto of the U.S. Coast Guard, Semper Paratus, always ready. For a military branch that is on call 365 days a year to protect the waterways and people of the United States, the motto, Semper Paratus, always ready, seems especially appropriate. There are quite a few stories of how the Coast Guard got the motto. Some say it was thanks to Captain Francis Saltus Van Rosket, who wrote the words to the Semper Paratus marching song of the United States Revenue Cutter Service, the precursor of the Coast Guard, while aboard the U.S. Yamacraw. Others say the newspaper, the New Orleans Bee, bestowed the title on the branch in 1836 in praise of the ship Ingram's actions along the Texas coast. And there are some who say the origins are still a mystery, but it is the sentiment behind the phrase that is important. No matter the rough waters, challenging ocean rescues, or long hours of ensuring national security, the U.S. Coast Guard is always ready to respond. And the U.S. Space Force, Semper Supra, always above. The newest of the U.S. military 6 branches, the U.S. Space Force, recently revealed its new motto, which pays homage to its roots in the U.S. Air Force, as well as the branch's future in space. Semper Supra is Latin for always above. The word always was chosen because just as space is unending in time and depth, so too is the Space Force's commitment to uncompromisingly protect and monitor space and U.S. satellites. Above was chosen to be symbolic of both the act of looking up and wondering what is beyond in space, as well as the Space Force's value for excellence. Okay. That's the end of the tidbits of stuff. I don't know how many of you knew that or were aware of any of those. And I would now like to go into my tribute for the veterans. On June 14th, 1775, the Continental Congress established a regular army. During the over 250 years since, over 41 million men and women have worn the service uniform, suffered the hardships of 12 major conflicts, trained earnestly for the next trumpet's call, enjoyed the camaraderie of service life, and served their country well. Almost 1.2 million have died in service. Over 1.32 million are serving today. And if we include the Reserve and the National Guard, then that figure becomes over 2.1 million. And I'll give you a breakdown of those. The Army presently has in excess of 445,000, the Navy over 330,000, the Air Force 323,000, the Marine Corps 168,000, and the Coast Guard just over 40,000. And I'm certainly proud that we've gathered here today to remember and to honor those who have served our country. It is proper that we do such, and I commend you, gladly join you in this endeavor. How many veterans do we have in here? I know 2 or 3. Carl and me, I guess. But we have, families of veterans, and, those people also serve while their family member is serving, because they endure hardships and are separated from their family and so forth. So all of that, I'm very glad to see the young folks here today from the Vocational Center, because normally I speak at schools to the classes, and that's mainly what this speech is geared towards. Those 41 million that have served their country well and honorably. They deserve our praise, our remembrance, and our gratitude for the sacrifices they have made. Today I wish to speak to you about the 3 R's. To many of the older generations, we understand that the 3 R's were the essential school subjects for our fathers, grandfathers, etc. Those 3 essential subjects were reading, writing with the W dropped off and spelled as R-I-T-I-N-G, and arithmetic with the A dropped off, spelled as R-I-T-H-M-E-T-I-C. But those were the 3 R's that our forefathers and mothers were taught in school when they were going. Basically, that was all they needed at that time. Didn't have all this technology that we had to deal with. However, the 3 R's I'm going to share with you are different. My 3 R's are respect, rights, and responsibilities. And I will address each of these. First, respect. We must practice and promote respect for our country. We live in the greatest nation in the world. We have our faults, and many people severely criticize some of our policies. But imperfect as we may be, we still have much to offer. We must also respect and honor the symbol of our country and its freedom. The American flag, the stars and stripes, Old Glory, or any of the various names our flag has been called, is a symbol and a record of our heritage. In times of peace, peril, or crisis, it is the national rallying point. It represents the unity and pride of our people and the courage and sacrifice of our men and women in uniform and all of the freedoms and privileges it represents. From the Revolutionary War through the War of 1812, the Mexican War, the Spanish-American War, the 2 World Wars, Korea, Vietnam, Southwest Asia, and now the war on terrorism. The flag has been a symbol of the freedom for which generations of Americans have fought, died, borne the scars of wounds, or perhaps more painfully, endured the limbo of those captured or missing in action. The American flag is much more than a cloth collection of stars and stripes. We must ensure that this generation and generations to come understand the heritage the flag represents. Second, we must respect our form of government. Winston Churchill said it best. Democracy may not be the best form of government, but it's the best we've found. Third, we must also respect our nation's leaders and the decisions they make. Their decisions are based upon information that's not available to all of us. And we need to respect those decisions once they're made. We're indeed fortunate to live in a country where elections and policies are decided by ballots rather than bullets. Third, we must respect our fellow citizen. Our great society endows each citizen with certain rights and privileges. Among these, the freedom of choice. Your choice may not be the same as mine, but you are entitled to yours as I am to mine. Voltaire stated, "I disagree with what you say, but I will defend to my death your right to say it." The second and third of the 3 R's, rights and responsibilities. must be taken together because they are inseparable. For every right we enjoy, there's attached a responsibility. Likewise, for every responsibility we assume, we are provided with certain rights and privileges. We have the right to keep and bear arms. We have the responsibility to use arms safely and honorably. We have the right to vote. We have the responsibility to cast our ballots for what we feel is best. We have the right to assemble and even protest. We have the responsibility to do so peacefully without harming anyone or their property. And for you kiddos, we have the right for a free education. We have the responsibility to take advantage of that opportunity. Or perhaps you ladies would rather be citizens of Afghanistan, where your education is forbidden after age 8. And then, when you mature into womanhood, you are forbidden to appear in public without being in the presence of a male relative and covered from head to toe. You guys have it much better. You can continue school where you are trained in the subjects of warfare and terrorism and then forced to serve in the military. Oh, and your music CDs, smart TVs, cell phones, internet, they're all banned. We have it tough here in America, don't we? So we have the responsibility to take care of that. And Ronald Reagan probably said it best in one of his speeches when he said, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction." We didn't pass it on in our bloodstream. It must be bought and paid for, protected and handed down for the next generations to do the same. Or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was like in the United States when men were free. We also have the greatest right ever granted, to live in a free country. We have the responsibility to preserve and protect that freedom for all Americans, for this and future generations. In the words of George Washington, every citizen who enjoys the protection of a free government owes not only a portion of his property, but even of his personal services to the defense of it. Herman Walt put it another way. If we want to preserve our freedom, we're going to be presented a bill. Freedom costs, and it costs more than money. He continued to say, "I paid 4 years of my life in the Second World War, and I never had a better bargain." The 41 million gentlemen and ladies that we are talking about here today have paid their debt. The bill will soon be passed along to the next generation. And are they ready and willing to assume their debt? And the future of this great country depends upon them and future generations. We must challenge them to assume their debt. And you know, there's a legal definition for a veteran, but before I conclude, I want to give you what veterans mean to me. Veterans, though, are those who have done things that haunt them at night so you can sleep in peace. Veterans are those who have been away with their families for long periods of time so that you can be with yours. Veterans are those who have sacrificed a lot in their lives so that you may be free to live yours. Veterans are those who have done things because they have sworn an oath to their country. And veterans are those who will live by that oath until the day they die, because they are and always will be veterans. Veterans are those who fell in love with their country, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. A veteran are those willing to lay down their lives for the Statue of Liberty, so that her poor, her huddled masses, her homeless, her tempest-tossed, may breathe free and enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And a veteran of those who did what they must in spite of personal consequences, in spite of obstacles and dangers and pressures, for what is the basis of all human morality. And a veteran is one with the lump in his throat when he sees the beloved flag. And they are the ones who would protect the beautiful flag from those who dare to dishonor it. And a veteran is one who pays his taxes willingly, serve their country honorably, cherish their freedom passionately. And veterans, the ones deserving our appreciation, our love, and our prayers 365 days a year. Thank you for allowing me to be here today and sharing this with you. I'm honored to do so, and I thank you very much for your attention.
As you're in Vietnam, every family here, whether they realize it or not, has been affected by some veteran's service. I just learned within the last few years about my great-great-grandfather and his brother, as I mentioned here before, that fought for U.S. 7th Cavalry unit, which started here in Huntingdon. My great-great-uncle is in Andersonville, Georgia, in a numbered grave. And my great-great-grandfather passed not too long after he was wounded in the fight during the Civil War. But we all have those connections. I want to appreciate Mr. Wilkes coming and speaking to us very greatly. There's nothing else. No meeting next month. In January, Mr. Joe Norville will be speaking. Appreciate you guys coming. Thank you.